And in the bottom left for Team GP, it is Ryung.
And I still think that Ryung's going to be coming in here being like, ooh, this is a tough one. But he has already gained a little momentum, a couple of victories, and especially kind of harkening back to, I believe it was a World Team League, saying, you know what, I can take a game versus Dark. It can happen. All you need is 2 here, a little bit volatile with the best of 3s, but that creates some very cool upset stories. If Ryung were to make it into the playoffs, I still think that would be one of the strongest storylines ever. But we are far away from that. Other matches, again, happening on the B and C stream that might just be super important to watch out for if Ryung can't take the victory. You summed it up nicely. If he wins, then that's it, you know? But can he actually win against Dark?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. And we know about Ryung's TVC. Well, honestly, not too much. I've seen him play a bunch of mech in this matchup. And I know that he was actually the person that suggested to Maru to start playing the mech into Ghost. And Ryung plays a very similar style. Maru almost always, after every win or after every match he plays, shout out Ryung as well. As either just a good friend or a nice practice partner or someone that made some good build suggestions. So Ryung definitely a smart player. Looking forward to what he has in store for us here against Dark.
It's actually kind of funny, you know, Ryung comes, it's awesome to see him again. He gets through into the groups, that's fun as well. But I think a lot of people were kind of looking at Ryung like, well, we'll see what you can do, you know, old man, right? You know, maybe he'll just be there as far as just being the person who talks tomorrow. Makes him even better because you're in person able to kind of talk to him through some things. But now it is not an impossible scenario for Ryung to actually be in the playoffs with Maru, who of course we'll be seeing later on in Group D. We do assume that Maru is going to be making it into the bracket stage.
Yeah, I think Ryung just tried to dodge the Overlord with his Reaper. I'm not quite sure if that worked there. There were 4 links out anyway, and we'll have to see whether Dark will be able to keep all of his links alive. Should not be too much of an issue as that Queen pops here as well. First Creep Tumor will be thrown down in the natural as the 3rd CC already is on the way here for Ryung.
Yep, no second gas, just right into the 3cc. So a lot of possibilities from this starting point, however, but it's you know, very much not anything tricky to begin. So while Ryung's coming in here as the underdog, he is not going to try and just, you know, maybe cheese his way to victory. Cheeky 2 racks, cheeky 3 racks, anything like that. Not even a Hellbat attempt, but rather right into the 3cc 1-1-1. I mean, this could go into mech. Eventually, could even bring out some battle cruisers, but I actually kind of like Ryung's confidence. I would love to see some bio from him versus Dark.
Yeah, I definitely would not mind that either. And the one thing that I did notice, at least in the TVPs that he has played, is that his control is really strong. His unit movement, his army control, and his decision making, I think, are really his strong points. Every now and then there will be a small float, a couple of 100, maybe sometimes 1200, 1300, a bit too much. But when it comes to the control and that unit movement, it really reminds me of some of the best Terrans that we have. And especially in TVP, it was very reminiscent of how Beyond kind of moves that army around. We do have the Viking opener here, and now we're just waiting whether there's going to be a 3rd gas or not, or what the plan is. All right, we see that stim go down, so most likely it is going to be bio.
Yes, indeed. I don't think that's a fake. It's interesting, the Viking with the Tech Lab on it. I mean, I wonder if he's going to maybe like a safety Banshee, as Dark is known for his roaches, and specifically getting a roach warren around like, what, 330, that he then uses sometimes for aggression, sometimes for a 1-1 push, and sometimes just actually for macro. So might be just Tech Lab not going to do anything at this point as the Viking denies the Overlord. The Ling also going to be denied access up to that high ground to see exactly what has been forming. And I do believe Ryung was very close to starting to build that barracks there. Yeah, he was, but it's not seen anyways.
Yeah, so that will leave Dark in the dark for a little more. 4 Overlords on the way for him as he moves out of a supply block. 9 more drones as well coming in. Was this a 4-car opener here for Ryung, or does he still have 2 at home?
I think it's, oh, he does have 2 at home. He does have 2 at home. So we do see some people actually, if you are going to go for a 3cc, kind of just saying, well, I'm going to, you know, if I'm going to be greedy, I'm going to be a little bit more greedy. Not get those additional Hellions and thus get the barracks a bit faster. But 6 is rather safe. 4 on the map, 2 at home in case of a little tiny little Ling run by, which, by the way, to emphasize, Dark is in fact going for Ling Baneling. We have seen him play around with mutas before. That is true, and we saw even today a little bit more muta action perhaps we expected, but we'll see. The lair has only just started.
Yeah, and with that double Evo first, those mutas would hit rather late, of course. It wouldn't surprise me if Dark either goes for some type of 1-1 or 2-2 timing, which he has liked in the past, or just goes for the old school 4 gas into eventually these lurker transitions, getting up to 8 gases once you hit 5 bases. Oh, this is the Dark standard, by the way, with that macro hatchery going down in the main base. Often criticized by the European Zergs, especially once that second one goes down. But this is his absolute standard. Doesn't want to use his queens for injecting too much. Rather just runs around chasing Hellions, spreading creep, transfusing the boys. Or, well, the queens.
The gals.
Yeah, the gals. The royalty. The royal gals. And... yeah, he'll get the larva with those extra macro hatcheries in his main base instead. Ryung doing a pretty decent job at denying creep here and there, but once again, all the queens are out on the map, so you'll need to deny a crap ton of creep if it wants to be effective. For a bailing run by here, Ryung has a lot of time to respond, and this is the first real test for him.
And he does perfectly fine. To be fair, there wasn't much else happening on the map. It's usually much more common to see mistakes, forced errors, right, in StarCraft when there's 2 things happening, not just the one. Dark is absolutely headed towards that hive and probably right into those lurkers. We got ourselves a nice mid-game TVZ at the very least. Now the Hellions even on anti-run by Baneling duty. We have that faster second factory coming down. Armory maybe a couple seconds late, but nothing to really be too bothered about. And Burrow, which we have been seeing more and more in these Zerg games.
Yeah, Ryung's playing really confident here. He's not ever really jumping in with those Hellions, trying to get a lot of drone kills. He's not doing something overly aggressive. He's playing practically the most standard macro game that I've seen in my entire life. And it kind of surprises me.
It's actually kind of going back to what you said about his mechanics, his micro. Well, hold on. Yeah, his micro, it's actually rather impressive. Usually when someone returns from a very long break, so a 1.5 years plus, we think, well, you know, maybe we see those hints of strategy, the experience, the mentality, all that good stuff. But, you know, mechanically, he might be a little shy. And because he's mechanically shy, maybe he's going to take more risks, but not Ryung, apparently. And that's not just even this TVZ, but other matches as well, as you had pointed out. So really just kind of impressed to see him kind of, you know, think he can go toe-to-toe with Dark, which so far so good. Nothing's really happened to set that back, although this Wood of Mine does hit more friendly than it does enemies. The Hellbats on the left side gonna help tank with the Wood of Mines helping out too. Okay, well, and then killing their own 2 Hellbats. That's cool, Wood of Mines. Means that we still have 2 attacks from Ryung on the left side, clearing up creep. Misrallied Wood of Mines is a bit of a pain. Those really would have helped either side. But again, these Marines on the right still injured, it looks like, but good target fire right there from Ryung, bringing out the micro that we were just talking about. Now, Dark does deflect this ultimately, but already some cool little moves there from the Terran.
Yeah, very late for CC though, so really focus on getting as many units out as he can. 2-2 is on the way as well, but Dark's 2-2 is also their big Ling run by, and this is what we're used to seeing from Dark. Dark loves these huge Ling run bys. Honestly, he isn't on that high of a worker count. He has 73 workers playing pure Ling Bane. That means that if he takes 1 bad trade, Ryung could potentially push across the map, and Dark actually wants to get aggressive here with 2-2. Yeah, it is possible, but if this doesn't work out, Ryung might have a timing with his own 2-2.
It seems to be a decent amount of buy. Okay, but Command Center is actually messing it up. Oh, the Wood of Mines! Finally doing exactly what they intend, which is hitting the majority of the enemy units. Baneling's now coming without that additional Ling addition is actually just not that intimidating anymore. It's when everything comes together that the Terran player really starts to worry. But more Lings are being sent across the map now. Ryung forced to choose. Can he actually continue to attack, or should he return on home? Looks like he's maybe going kind of in between. He's going to have to pull the SCVs away, as there wasn't quite enough reinforcements. 4th CC had to be cancelled. SCVs are starting to go down. 3rd lifted too. This does end up causing a lot of chaos, but Ryung still with an army on the other side of the map, looking at that hatchery, knowing there's not a lot of creep spread. Once again, getting at least 1 fantastic Widow Mine shot, and there's not much Banelings left over, but Ryung, he's dealing with 2 places at once, and that is always so difficult to micro correctly.
Yeah, army supply is still very large here for Ryung. 2-2 finishing up as well, but Dark keeping on the pressure, getting his first Hydralisk out right now. Lurker then halfway done as well. And once these first Lurkers pop, the party will end here for Ryung. He does not have a fourth command center yet. His depots are being taken out as well. I think Ryung's in a world of trouble here.
Yeah, this really does seem to be it, honestly. The Ling run by finally finding success, not just in the damage that it dealt, but the amount that it set Ryung back momentum-wise. Literally no fourth command center, literally half of his army having to stay back home, or just being simply intercepted, means that he does not get to apply that pressure. So that means he won't apply the pressure to stop the lurkers, to stop the upgrades, or perhaps most importantly, to stop the army of Dark from once again getting to his side of the map.
Yes, these Lings burrow for a second time here in the natural. This time a scan is available and Ryung will clean it up. Supplies still look close, but that is a little bit deceiving. Once these first lurkers hit the field, this Marine Mine army is going to be rendered completely useless.
Widow Mines are still finding some success, but just the entire momentum lost here. Ryung knows that he can't actually quite afford to go for a fourth command center yet, as he is supply blocked. He's about to have those minerals, but he used it instead to start up that +3 immediately. I mean, effectively turning this into a real all-in. Already his fourth CC wasn't that fast, but especially now. So we might be hoping that Dark is maybe underestimating him. Maybe he has too few units back at home compared to the other side of the map. But soon that will not be even a worry for Dark. The more lurkers you have, the less likely it is you're going to run into a single Widow Mine, have all your banelings explode.
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid for Ryung here. The timer is running out, and I don't even think he's aware that there's a timer on currently, and that usually is an issue. 4 TC is being thrown down here, +3. It's nowhere close to being done for Ryung. If he waits for that upgrade, he's definitely that. I love these burrow banelings, by the way. Knowing his opponent needs every single penny he can get, and some random scans won't be appearing anytime soon off creep.
That's the tough part for sure. Ryung, you know, he's managed to actually get probably to max out here. He's even added on additional barracks with the tech labs as well, so Marauders are coming through too. But he will not have a lot of control over the map, and he will not be able to add additional command centers and ghosts, for instance. Doesn't have those tanks to help secure his home either, so he is hoping some of this pressure will actually work out. So far, not happening, as the Leatherling run by does find perhaps a decent amount of bio. No Widow Mine burrow, however, and the Marauders don't actually kill Lings all that quickly. Once again, the run-bys leading to even further chaos as Dark takes the opportunity to send more Lings into the natural, into the third, and is just taken over the map.
Yeah, and Dark is absolutely destroying Ryung here. Lurkers are moving forward. Overseers with the army will take out the mines. Banelings connecting with Marines everywhere as well. 19 SCVs have gone down in the past 45 seconds as the Lurkers burrow. And all that there is left is Marines. I think Ryung is absolutely dead at this point.
Yeah, you got a pretty cool surround on some of those lurkers, but that really wasn't even the bulk of Dark's army. It could be. At any point, he could just go mass lurker. He's starting to bank up quite a bit, but still a lot of Ling, Baneling, Hydra to morph in. Accidental Sormos also coming in as well. Dark up on so many bases. Ryung still struggling to get his third back, much less his fourth. Does not actually have a +3 timing. His army supply is not good enough to do so. There is still such an uphill battle on creep against Banelings, against lurkers. It ain't gonna work, actually. There's not even Banelings here. It's just a full Ling run by. 3-3 versus 2-2, but it's the Lings with 3-3.
Yeah, that's not looking too good. Although the Marine are getting somewhat of a trade, it still won't be enough. GG gets called as Dark wins game number 1. Sure, the map was hardwired, but Dark made it look kind of easy.
Once he stopped Ryung's flow, it just was truly a steep decline. There was not much else that Ryung did. He got into arguably a comfortable position. 3 CC, out in the map with 2 drops, even some fancy footwork with the micro on those Banelings, and even a couple of good Widow Mine shots. But the run-by just took too long to clean up. I think it's always a combination of the direct damage that the run-by does, as well as how much chaos it creates, and it really did both.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see our average macro hatch enjoyer on the screen, up 1-0 currently, and yeah, kind of already sure of that second place. Sarah, of course, in that first place. Still wants to win that best of 3. Don't want to drop no more maps against Ryung. Even just taking a map here for Ryung can be very important, depending on what happens in the other games, of course. So although Ryung is down 1-0, he will definitely not give up. I'm curious to see if he's going to switch it up. Will we see more of a cheesy style? I always respect people that try to, you know, take their opponent on head on. But I also love it when people just say, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm good enough to take this fella on in a bio game. Let me put my first 2 barracks across the map, or let me try some cheeky mech out here. Something we can definitely expect on the second map, which should be a little bit better for Terran as well.
Should be. Yeah. It's always, I guess, endearing to see when someone just says, you know what, yeah, I am going to have trouble against you, so I'm going to throw everything in the kitchen sink. Excuse you, I'm not going to play straight up. But Ryung did try. Again, he had some cool moments. He probably even felt like, hey, maybe this isn't going too poorly. But all it took was that one Ling run by to really reset everything. Perhaps it's less of an issue if he were to be an aggressive early on, or if he were to go mech early on, and maybe Ling run bys wouldn't really be an issue as you have so many Hellions. But we also know that Dark can mix up his own styles. We move on to now 2,000 atmospheres for game 2. In the top right for DPG, he is Dark.
And in the bottom left, the blue Terran who has surprised everyone so far this tournament, it is Ryung.
He certainly has surprised people. I mean, even if he doesn't quite make it out of groups today, I still think him getting here was already quite the achievement. I think he agreed. He was also like, well, I made it into this really tough group, so I don't know how much farther I can go. But even to be in contests with a lot of other talent from the world is, inarguably an achievement. Dark is looking to kind of, I guess, cement his position, not just in second place, but as maybe even once again, like the contender for top 4, top 2, top 1 in the tournament. He wants to actually prove it was just Cyril that messed him up, but he's good against everyone else.
Yeah, of course, Dark eyeing that $1 million as well, as Calaris loves to mention.
His head perked up.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It's of course really cool, that storyline as well. But for now, Ryung is our main focus here. The man from Korea, coming back from that military service. And, well, in the interviews didn't quite believe in himself. But I spoke with him today. He actually sounded kind of confident in his own abilities. And he also told me that he felt like yesterday he was playing absolutely out of his mind. So I was like, man, your splits against heroes. Like, yeah, that's the best I've ever done as well. I'm not quite sure where that came from. But I could see a little, his eyes were shining a little bit. He felt proud of those games. Well, he should. He played freaking amazing StarCraft yesterday. It was fantastic to watch. And today as well, he's just been playing really fun, aggressive styles often, knowing when to counterattack, knowing when to attack. I love to see him give Dark a run for his money. We are here on 2K atmospheres. If there's a map where maybe he can throw out a cheeky mech, I don't actually think 2K atmosphere is the greatest for that. I've seen him do it before though here, and it is a possibility. I honestly be a bit disappointed if he opens triple CC 6 Hellion again and just goes straight up into BIOS. Like, well, oh, this is not a good start. Oh, he looks pissed on that camp. You see that? I was not happy with that.
Mentally, he is already defeated. Not quite, but that is very unfortunate, especially against a guy like Dark, who is so prone to, as I said last game, actually throwing down a Roach Warren and then maybe using it, maybe not, depending on how everything else went. Well, you just killed the Reaper, so could actually even be aggressive. Ryung has once again gone for a third CC build. Now, I agree with you. If he does the exact same thing, I'd be a little disappointed. But, you know, Time was working with a 3 CC build, I think, would like actually turn into a bit of an attack with Hellbats. Kind of mixing up the actual aggression points from a Terran player can still happen off the back of this build. But, I mean, it's, you know, obviously it's up to Ryung. He's going to deny at least the Overlord Scout, but we do have a second barracks at this point, confirming at least the bio. It is a faster second barracks.
Yeah, this is the late starport type of opener. I don't think we have a second gas yet either, do we? No, we don't. Might actually go into something like 3 racks from here. Actually getting more Hellions as well. Wow. It's going to be an interesting builder. Could go into something like a Hellbat push with a relatively late starport, but still, and just going medevacs, like no Liberator, no Viking, none of that crap.
Yeah, yeah. I actually think that might be exactly what he does. Well, we'll watch that, I guess, develop. Dark has not thrown down his Roach Warren, so I think once again going to be playing Ling, Baneling. We did have, earlier today, Kira actually go for mech on this map, so it should be on the, I guess, in the front of a lot of Zerg's minds, like, hey, maybe mech is making a return. You know, 3 Terrans tried it already today, but not this time, not this Terran, turning this 3CC opener into the fast 2-1-1 that really doesn't hit all that much later than a 2-base 2-1-1, but has that economic I guess, stability behind it. So more like around 5:30, you see those medevacs.
Yeah, and he also has some Hellions, right? A little bit of map control, perhaps a tiny bit of pressure as well. If you don't see anything past these 4 cars. Oh, this is an important scout if he gets it. I don't think he got anything there up the ramp, right? Nah.
He just saw 2 more Marines. That's actually it, which actually can maybe be a signal, right? The reactor's on the factory. As far as he knows, he's the Hellion, so there must be something else behind that. and that would be true.
You know what's funky in these scenarios? Sometimes you believe that your Ling actually got vision upstairs when you didn't. And then in the fog of war, you still see the factory. You're like, wait, he's still producing Hellions?
Yeah.
Well, in reality, there's still a barrier. So
Right.
it might be that Dark is thinking that. After seeing those two Marines, though, I'd be a little bit surprised if he wouldn't be able to make the read. He's going to throw down the armory, by the way. It's going to be that I think it's like a 4 Hellbat type of timing here with a bunch of Marines as well. And I'm really looking forward to this. The Bailing Nest is going to be in time.
You know what's actually really funny? Before Ryung went to military, I felt like he was one of the players who loved the 2-base 2-1-1 Hellbat edition. So you don't actually swap the starport in the factory. You just produce one medevac at a time. This is a 3cc version. So that is going to be, again, kind of this like off-kilter type of push. A little bit of, you know, XY in the composition as well as a little bit in between an attack we'd usually see at 5 or and then 7 minutes, right? It's like right in between. And it might just be enough to surprise Dark. His Bailing Nest is not done. But Queens are pretty good at buying time, nothing else.
Second factory as well.
Yeah, going up into perhaps just into... Oh, okay, I thought it was going to be Drilling Claws. I definitely did. It is not. It is Blue Flame Hellion. Okay, is this what he was doing earlier today as well?
I have no clue. I've never seen this before in my entire life. He's taking extra... He's playing mech! He's playing mech from this!
He might just be... That would be so... No.
He's getting vehicle weapon. This is mech. 100%. I know he has Stim. I know he has Stim Observer. I know there's Combat Shield. This is mech.
That's amazing. If he had started producing a tank off the one factory, I'd still be like, no, he's just going to add, like, you know, upgrades for the tanks. But no, with another factory coming down, he is trying to bring in the bio to mech transition that you might see in Brood War, actually, guys. But certainly not in StarCraft 2, and actually not this fast either. We've even seen some players try, like Euthermal, to bring it in really, really late, like 25 minutes late. But this is truly unique.
Yeah, enjoy making this read, Dark. Holy crap. Took me like 2.5 minutes to figure it out, and I already saw the second factory. Okay, Dark just scouts immediately, throws down that Roach War, and he's going to be scratching his head right now. We're not seeing it on the camera, so I guess he's a little more prepared here than I was, but holy crap, he's actually going to be playing some weird... But it's not really a hybrid, because this is more just a 2 medevac drop with Marines to clear some creep. And then I guess Hellion run bys into tanks. You see the Infestation Pit going down as well. And still melee upgrades as well. Wow.
Wasn't Ryung versus Cyril when we saw that Blue Flame kind of as he died? I do wonder if he intended to do this in another TVZ, but of course was stopped short. Now we actually get to see this come to fruition. Does a mech transition work, especially when it is actually scouted too? Like, there could be a lot said about just totally unscouted transitions and just being a surprise, right? But this has been scouted. Dark seems to have some understanding of what to do here. At least he does add the Roach Warren, but what a crazy way to play. You still have some of the map presence and aggression of Marines and medevacs, but then you might be trying to build up to that stable basis of Hellion tank. You're trying to, but, well, actually, the Hellbats are totally fine. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, I got really scared for a second, and I realized he's not playing bio no more.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he probably would have straight up lost the game there. This base might actually get taken down. That is really bad for Dark. He has 82 workers. He needs to be mining from this base. 6 roaches are on the way. If this is kind of big, this base falling.
Yeah, he gets it. Absolutely. Pick up the Marines, I would say. Well, okay, he picks up the Hellbats, actually. Well, if he drops them on top of the mineral line, it could be just circa 2013, another phase that Ryung is very familiar with, which is Hellbat drops on everyone's base all the time, every day. Actually, even landing a Hellbat on top of the Bailings, getting like 5 of them to crash in, can also be effective. What a wild and crazy game. Kudos to Dark for taking it in stride as much as you possibly can, but yeah, he lost a base. The economy's not best. He's at least getting up to that high. Oh, a couple of Overlord drops as well.
He has melee upgrades right now. No, like he's getting range. He has triple Evo, so he's getting range upgrades finally. He basically he almost has less creep threat than what you start with in StarCraft 2. Like there's like 5 tumors on. Well, okay, there's a little more on the map. He's gonna drop. Oh,
yeah.
Bailing drops. That's kind of cool.
That is really cool. And the other thing that's happening, as I'm oohing and awing at, is that Ryung, okay, this makes a lot of sense. He's going from bio to mech back into ghost mech, which is very easy to do now that you have so many barracks. He even added another barrack. So it really is coming into a combination, but definitely more so of that supreme late game mech ghost, which usually takes so many, basically, steps to get to, but by being almost, you know, like a Zerg in your tech transitions, you're able to get here, I suppose, as soon as possible. Sub 10 minutes. Dark is at the point now where he's got his upgrades, he's got his hive, he's got his bases, hopefully back up and running, but not a lot of creep spread, and not a lot of understanding maybe of how this is actually going to end up. I mean, I really don't know if he's ever played this before.
I hope there's a tank here, by the way, because, yeah...
Well, now he knows.
Yeah, this run-by was a bit much. Losing 9 workers there sucks for Ryung, obviously. Command Center will land once again. Ghosts are out, will be able to defend these roaches, but not having any tanks there is a bit surprising. Ryung is going to push this again. If he gets another cancel on this 5th base, Dark still is maxed, but might actually be in a bit of trouble here.
I think that he is. I mean, it doesn't seem like that many tanks, but the Vipers aren't out. There is a bit of a depth to them as well, so 2 of them go down, but some still backing up the push. And once again, this base has to be taken. The drones have to leave. They have to evacuate. That hatchery looks like it might go down. Maybe not, actually. The Lings pour in. The Ravagers try and follow them up as well. 3 tanks still trying to hold strong, but about to be overwhelmed. That is going to cut it, and the retreat has to come in full force for Ryung, who also did lose a handful of SCVs behind this. But at the very least, you could say that it was a trade. Oh, some burrowed roaches too. Oh no, the Banelings in the main base. Good on Ryung to see that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he saw that or if he already was planning on transferring workers to that third, but he probably just saw that. He's, well. Well, Ghosts actually are great against this type of drop. I love the Viking here as well. He's saying, you know what, there's going to be stuff here in the future. This is a tricky attack as well. There's not that many tanks here. This is an orbital at the 4th base.
Oh, wow.
These Ghosts actually will need to help out. Did scan for the Banelings. Good catch there out of Ryung. A lot of crap happening on the map right now. And, well, a lot of SCVs are going down as well. There's still 64 mining, and with 4 orbitals, of course, you're going to get decent mining. But because that right side 5th base did not end up falling, Dark is just out mining his opponent a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like it was going to fall, but nothing to actually snipe it, had to deal with the attack. And now it's just one of those situations where Ryung has the wrong units in the wrong place. So a tank would have been nice to clear up the roaches to the left, and the Hellions would have been nice on the right to help clear up those Lings, but it was not actually the setup that Ryung had. Now he is trying to solidify that setup, getting a little more SimCity, getting, of course, more units as he took a heavy blow to his supply. He probably gets another shot at really doing the best turtle possible on these 4 bases. But at that point, Dark also has started to expand elsewhere. He's expanded, he's upgraded, he's added technology, and he's going to keep attacking left, right, and center.
It wouldn't surprise me if Dark tries to go for a bust now. He has Vipers. Well, how many Ultras are we currently at? And what's the Ghost count? 10 Ghosts and only 2 Ultras. Well, that should be a hole that tanks are in position at least. There's not a single sensor tower though, which makes it difficult to maneuver this Ghost army around. If the Ghosts are not in the correct position, this could get very, very well, bad for Ryung, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Sense Tower is on the way by the looks of things, but the attack is already here. 2 Vipers. Ooh, one of them being EMP'd, but I think only after I got the Blinding Cloud. Actually, not that many Blinding Clouds going down, but it might be too much Zerg. No, actually, all the Zerg coming in at kind of the most awkward angle with so many tanks against, again, that depth, plus the Ghost snipes, really made that a nice hold. Dark overvaluing his position, overvaluing his attack. Actually takes a bit of his own supply dip, and Ryung gonna try to run with the momentum, even though he's not maxed out, just barely on that 150 supply. He's going to move into the creep.
I'm not so sure about this. He's building up a great army. Why not wait for that +3 and the max out? There's no planetary at that 4th base. Ling run-bys are a big issue. You know that Dark is going to remax on Lings here. Hellbats are going to help out, of course, but a bunch of SCVs already will go down. Ryung at the same time also dealing a lot of damage on the other side, but there's just not that many workers on that 6th base.
Nope, Dark can give that one up as long as he deals a lot of damage on this side of the map, which now he's finding that opening. Initially, the right side had those Hellbats kind of deny the Lings, but now we're talking about Ling, Baneling, and Ultras, and Ryung does not have enough reinforcements. He did not, I agree, I think he might have actually waited long enough, gotten maxed out, maybe even able to leave more army at home because of that as well. But it is what it is. Now Ryung going for the all-in, 60 supply down, still a lot of Zerg to cover to actually hope to take this game. He is awfully close to a lot of the reproduction rallies of Dark, but there's so much army on the map. They're going to be coming from all different angles, really nullifying the effect of the tanks. I do think that Ryung is going to have to tap out of this one too, but he has shown us a really cool style.
Oh, that's not a Manor Mule, that's a Walling Mule there, but there's too many Lings. Dark breaks the main base. The production is practically dead at this point. Ryung keeps pushing forward, still has a decent amount of army supply, and he has a powerful army. But I think there's too much Dark, and Dark can still produce a crap ton. Drones are being pulled as well. Lots of tanks in the back, though. We'll take out a bunch of these drones. Snipes going down still. This was a very good fight for Ryung.
It was. Actually, it looked almost comical with the SCVs and the Ghosts, but they did a wonderful job taking out that front line. Dark did just throw a portion of his army very ineffectively into the remnants of the Terran, so for a while, the supplies had actually fall into a 20 supply gap instead of a 40 on that army supply specifically, guys. Now it's back up as Dark does start to remax, or well, not remax, but remake his roaches. They are mostly in the main base, and now his Ling Ultra is coming up its own ramp, its own choke, into these tanks, into the Ghost. This is turning into a crazy finish, but one that should still lead to Dark's victory.
Yeah, no, definitely should. He's going to lose a lot of his production facilities, but those can be rebuilt. And out on the map, I mean, Ryung can't really move out of this base. At least I don't see how he can. There's so many Ultras. There is 7 Ghosts, which are good against Ultras. Tanks are good against Ultras, but there's also 30 Links, there's 15 Ravagers. There's just a lot of Zerg, and there's not so much Terran.
Yeah, exactly. That is the main problem. And I think Dark, the one thing he could have done is start to panic and then went, oh no, I have to return home. I have to save those bases. And again, run up that really small choke. But he doesn't do that. He's like, well, okay, that does suck. This is going to really complicate things for me ending the game. But I know you can't leave. I know you can't leave. So let's just calmly replace some of these things, maybe even start to replace some of the technology, just in case. And then commit his full forces once Ryung feels the need to move out, which he has to eventually.
Yeah, he definitely has to eventually, because Dark is still on, well, 2 bases and mining with 54 workers. It's nice that you have 1 floating orbital over here, and you're practically long-distance mining for your fort as well, but that's definitely not going to be cutting it. I'm surprised how slow this rebuild of the spawning pool is.
Yeah, very slow, Dark, actually. I mean, he kind of made the same mistake versus Showtime. I think Ryung might have picked up a couple of Ghosts, because I didn't know if he had any Hellions, to go take out the drones. That's absolutely the case.
Oh.
The drones, they could have burrowed, I suppose. They didn't just pull it away by the looks of things, and Ryung, you know, is going to be limited on scans at the very least. Some of his command centers are alive and have replanted themselves, but, you know, Ryung, he's maybe had a little bit of time to process his best chance to win this game. I think even he's just like, well, again, I kind of hope that Dark just runs up a ramp, which he's, yeah, exactly. He's like, well, I hope he runs up my ramp. That'd be awesome if he did that.
And honestly, even if Dark would run up the ramp here, I still think Dark would win this fight without the Ghost being there. 2 more Queens on the way, 12 Links as the spawning pool finishes up. Ryung's not going to be lifting this orbital command as it burns to the ground. Yeah, Ryung is absolutely dead at this point, and he's just extending his time in this game, in this series. He doesn't want to know yet what happened in the other games. He's like, as long as I'm in this game, I'm still in the tournament. And if I tap down, I might have to confront my elimination.
Yeah, and as long as I'm under the covers, the Boogie Monster won't get me. Right?
Exactly.
That's not going to actually work out at the end of the day. Dark now just dominating the supply. It is 26 army supply to 116. And yet Ryung is not willing to tap out, enjoying his experience far too much at Katowice, trying his best to use his medevac micro, but look at that Zerg army. You get a fantastic view of it. There it is, the tap outs. Dark again taking a 2-0, this time over Ryung.